Good morning, everyone. My name is Marian Ruth J. Marcos, and I am here to discuss and critique the poem entitled There is a Girl Inside by Lucille Clifton. Before we start our discussion, I want you to have some reminders during on our discussion. First thing, I want you to listen attentively. Second, stay focused. Third, avoid getting distracted during on our discussion. And last, jot down notes. Before we focus on the poem, let us know about the author. Lucille Clifton was born in Delphi, New York on June 27, 1936. Her first book of poems, Good Times, was rated one of the best books of the year by the New York Times. In 1999, she was also elected a Chancellor of the Academy of American Poets. She served as Poet Laureate for the state of Maryland from 1979 to 1985 and Distinguished Professor of Humanities at St. Mary's College of Maryland. After a long battle with cancer, Lucille Clifton died on February 13, 2010 at the age of 73. Let us now proceed on the poem. There is a girl inside. She is randy as a wolf. She will not walk away and leave these bones to an old woman. She is a green tree in the forest of kindling. She is a green girl in a used poet. She is waited, patient as a nun, for the second coming, where she can break through gray hairs into blossom. And her lovers will harvest honey and thyme, and the wolves will be wild with the damn wonder of it. The poem titled There is a Girl Inside tells us that the speaker is an old woman who still feels young and vital inside. So we know that the central tension in the poem is probably the tension between youth and age, between what the speaker feels like on the inside and what she looks like on the outside. We can see that this tension structures the poem as a whole through the alteration of the language of youthful vitality with the language of aging and decay. The focus of this poem is the conflict between the woman and nature. The woman imagines that nature is where she wants to reborn. The tree can reborn from season to season. However, the human only to have one life. The author uses Randy and girl to show the freedom of woman in aging compared with bones and gray hairs, to represent the anti-aging of the woman. Thus, the images of nature and this character's appearance are completely different. She always accepts the truth of her aging presence, but she desires to get freedom of the youth. So the first thing we might notice in that the alteration of images of youth with images of age ends with the fourth line of the third stanza. The five final lines of the poem consist of images of youth, fertility, and sexuality, and they evoke the youthfulness the speaker believes can overpower age. There are a total of 5 full stops in the first two stanzas, but there is only one comma in the third stanza and no punctuation at all. The final stanza until we get to the period that ends the poem. This dramatic decrease in punctuation or decrease in stops and pauses suggests acceleration, excitement, and power, reinforcing the emphasis on the victory of youth in the final stanza. So the speaker has used powerful verbs in active voice such as the girl inside will not walk away, she can break through, and her lovers will harvest. These powerful active verbs reinforce the idea that this girl is powerful and active, strong enough to get what she wants. So the use of has waited in the third stanza reinforces the idea that the girl inside is ready to emerge. The simile, she is as randy as a wolf, for a wolf is a powerful animal that fights what if he wants and usually gets what it fights for. So the green girl implies that the girl is inexperienced, naive, unused to the world. And this aspect of image fits nicely with the simile in the second line of the next stanza, patient as a nun. Nun takes a promise of chastity, poverty, and obedience, which means that they renounce the material world. The image of a nun forms a bridge between the inexperienced girl and the old woman, and a nun waits patiently for her reward. So the woman and the girl inside have both waited patiently for the second coming of the youth. So the words harvest, honey, and thyme have as ambiguity that also reinforces the bond between youth and age. In addition to their connotations of youthful sexual vitality, harvest, honey, and thyme can refer to activities associated with autumn and therefore with the old woman. The harvest occurs in the fall of the end of growing season, when the plants are fully matured, not when they are green or young like the green girl inside. And honey is a product bees make from flower pollen. After the pollen is harvested, beekeepers harvest the honey from the hive after it is made, and thyme is used to primarily after it is dried up. So the word kindling in the second stanza has an ambiguity that is useful in this context. Kindling refers to old dried up wood used to start fires, but the very fact that kindling catches the fire so easily associated with the quality of passion, which also catches fire easily. So the poem tone might be helpful to think of as the speaker's tone of voice, for it expresses a speaker's attitude towards what he or she is saying and toward the reader. In this poem, the use of the word randy to indicate sexual hunger in the second line of the poem and them in the final stanza tells us that the tone is somewhat playful and irreverent, a tone often associated with the youth. So the theme of "There is a girl inside" is not merely a restatement of the old adage, but a transformation of that adage into a new one of equally universal importance. The poem suggests that the age brings with a special harvest of its own, which is the capacity to appreciate the gifts of youth that remain within us as seeds, remain within ripened fruit, as a result to feel young even when we are old. So the theme of the poem resolves the tension between youth and age that structures it. We can conclude that the poem has an organic unity because its theme is carried all of its formal elements. The poem appears to be charmingly and disarmingly simple. Our analysis of its organic unity level is a surprising complexity in the operations of its formal elements. From a new critical perspective, There Is a Girl Inside is finely created a literary text, a combined, unified, complex art object, the theme of which has universal human significance. So that's all for my report. I hope you learned something for today. Thank you for listening and God bless.